everybody, welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. We are on part three of a conversation that we're having with Jeffrey Schmitt and Cynthia Bergh. And in the first segment, we were talking about some surprising findings that Jeff had found as a scientist about how there are actual positive benefits of the plant medicine, tobacco. And we were also talking about how we can get in right relationship with that plant medicine. And what I wanted to do in this segment is talk about the various techniques that you use. And one of the things that you describe in your website is that you work on both the neurological and physical components of providing good surrogates. Instead of smoking tobacco, what are some surrogates that you can get so that you're fundamentally getting the need that you have for tobacco? And I know that in your pilot group, you talked about, there are certain things that people are getting. What was kind of the most common expression of what people were getting from tobacco? Was it clarity, stress relief, pleasure? What were the things that you found were the most common intentions of that product?
Yeah, I would definitely say that all of those. I think stress is kind of a key factor for everyone in our culture right now,
Okay.
and how that manifests can be in need for clarity and all that stuff. So, as a larger umbrella, people are really pretty stressed.
Okay.
So, it's a way of avoiding that pain or tension to smoke. It helps take a moment. But what I would like to say about one of the techniques with being in our body is the fact that when we feel like we're addicted to something, there's a conflict. There's an essential conflict. Like, I have a behavior that I don't like, that I want to change, but I can't because I'm addicted. So there's a conflict in ourselves. And whenever an addiction is really more of a state of consciousness. And so it lets us know kind of where our resources are. Because if we're addicted, that's saying that we don't have control over that part, that our subconscious is playing a large role, and we're not empowered and able to determine our own path.
Hmm.
So in that, anytime we are experiencing something like that, if we turn to our body is this amazing portal, kind of our connection to our subconscious, because our subconscious is in our behavior, it's in our movement, it's located there. And so as we connect more to our body, two things happen. First, we have a reduction of stress. Anytime you're more aware of your body or your breath, automatically we start to feel okay. Even if the same stressful situation is going on, when we're in touch with our bodies, it naturally has a hormonal and neurological flow of creating less stress.
Right.
So the second thing that the body does, it gives us access to that subconscious, like, what's going on here. So it's not about mentally understanding it, because mentally we can't change the behavior. We've already tried that. So as we drop into the body, people start to learn how to be in better relationship with themselves, and that starts to change their desire or their need for that outside stimulus, that outside stress relief. If you learn stress relief within yourself and you feel that, that starts to change. So in this program, we work with embodied techniques. There's a series of different audios, 10 to 15 minutes, that you listen to, where you would do a physical embodied process to put your hands on your body, connect with your breath, so that you can get information about that
Excuse me.
subconscious.
Got it.
And then
Um,
there's audios to also for the meditation piece, and journeys, and the binaural beats that also help to reprogram, your neurological function.
yeah, so Jeff, tell me a little bit about the binaural beats and how they work in the whole healing process or connection process.
Absolutely. So we, through the arc of experience, touch upon many, many different themes that are connected to the emotional states that we encounter as when we're not in right relationship with tobacco, when we're in a state of addiction. And each one of those states, whether it's sadness or fear or anxiety, has a particular neurological signature. And what we want to do is not bring the person into a place of avoidance, the what we actually want to do is help the person navigate to the other side of really experiencing that emotional state. So with the binaural beats in combination with the really beautiful original music that it's buried in, does is it helps you remain peaceful and centered as you journey and explore the emotional state. So unlike so many methodologies and traditions in the West, we aren't saying avoid the discomfort. We're not saying turn away from anything. We're saying go deep into your body, deep into your experience, and we can support you in that journey using these techniques. Binaural beats are very, very interesting. What they are is sounds delivered to the right and left ears, and there's certain qualities in the sounds that create a beat pattern right in the center of the brain, and that beat pattern is actually helps you achieve the desired brain state that you're working through. So
So the end goal would be, what if you had the energy and resources to feel the purpose of your anger? So
Right.
instead of saying, I'm not going to be angry, it's like, here's the energy. The binaural beats provides the energy and resources so that someone can experience the truth of that in a safe way, so that your anger doesn't overpower your action, but actually brings you wisdom and understanding about a
Okay, so let's
situation.
actually take that concrete thing and actually step people through an example of what you're talking about. So I'm feeling stress that is coming in the form of being angry. I turn on the news, I start getting all triggered by the news and scared and angry, and I would normally turn to go get a cigarette and calm down. So instead of that, I go in and spend 15 minutes of a program that you have that is a combination of um, these binaural beats. I don't know enough about binaural beats. I know that it's about, I don't know if it's somewhat related to EMDR, but it's like basically stimulating both hemispheres of your brain. And is it specifically the sound is oriented towards anger and calming the anger, or is it just creating a calming sound to get you into a more resource state?
so yes, in a sense to all those things. So we have a module on anger. And essentially what we do in that module is in the first recording, in the exercise recording,
Hmm.
we, we actually start with breath, center the person, bring the person's consciousness and awareness into their bodies, and then we create a sense of allowing the emotion, inviting the emotion while you're centered, while you're focusing on your breath. And this flips the equation. Instead of pushing, putting on boxing gloves and pushing the tough emotion away, what we do is we, build our confidence that we can actually witness and be present with this difficult emotion. And as we lead the person through that, then the exercise ends, and then we go right into the binaural beat underneath the beautiful music, which then cools and retunes the circuitry in the brain that works with anger, so that it allows you to, like Cynthia was saying, actually uncover the reason that the anger is there in the first place. So when we reinvent our relationship to our emotional landscape, all kinds of great things happen when we stop pushing away those things which are difficult, those things which are challenging. When we stop fighting those emotions and actually, do what we do with our children when they're troubled. We bring them into our lap and say, I see you, I love you, and we're going to get through this. And you hold space. It's ironic how seldom people do that for themselves. And that's what this is all about. It's really rooted in self-compassion and self-observation. And the binaural beats are just one of the tools that we use to support you staying in that brain state that ultimately leads to more awakening and transformation.
Okay, let me just ask a quick follow-on question. So, anger is the topic. I'm going to tune in and allow that anger. And then the second part of that is having the beats And I assume what you mean is that there's music that's layered on top of that. So I'm actually feeling like I'm listening to just music, but below
Yeah.
that, audible to our brain is like these beats that are happening. And those beats are specifically, as I understand, these binaural beats are, I understand EMDR sort of. I'm like, took a class in EMDR, so I understand just, 8 hours of a class that I took. But I understand it as like they're signaling right and left hemispheres of your brain. And then, as I remember from that class, it's like you have these like little unfused little bits in your brain that are kind of like you forgot something, but somehow listening to the music and with my own personal experience, I'm like, wow, I have a memory of something that I forgot that is causing me to be angry. I'm like, oh, it's related to when I was 10 and blah, 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 whatever the story is. And meanwhile, I have the beat, deep, 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 going back and forth. And that helps me kind of tune in and allow, when I was 10 and I had this issue, it allows me to kind of like calm myself and be in a more calm place as I'm experiencing this now new memory that comes. Is that what you're talking about or something different?
Yes, it can manifest like that, but at the core, it's what you said earlier is that your left and right hemispheres um, get brought into synchrony.
Ah,
The,
okay.
the experiencing and the remembering parts of ourselves
Yeah.
start to come into cohesion, and when that
Uh,
happens, it's exactly what Cynthia said. You can start to understand why the anger is there in the first place, and then that allowing and that self-compassion, that openness, then you have all sorts of extra resources available to you for change. So instead of, again, we're not pushing it away, we're inviting and asking, what are you really? What is the nature of this emotion? Why are you in my life? And you become an explorer. That's the thing that's really cool about this. And in terms of the music, we not only constructed specific binaural beats to work with different emotions and experiences in the arc of our program, but we also composed live music with specific tonalities, with specific instruments, with specific beats that we know help augment the process even further. So it's all original composed percussion oriented music that is specifically for these different themes. So it's not, like cheesy music with some wah 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 in back of it. It's actually, amazing live percussion music I did with a world-renowned percussionist by the name of River Gregarian, who's a medicine man himself. And it was a tremendous odyssey to actually do that, to compose music from the perspective of, gosh, how can we support a person moving through a journey of understanding more deeply what these different emotional states are.
yeah, so they're actually specific beats targeted towards anger, sadness, jealousy, whatever may be the emotion that's coming up. There is actually a beat that corresponds to some mapping, I assume, in our brain circuitry, and that's what's being kind of like fired and wired together. So we're like, aha, you know, discordant left side, right side, boom. Like, aha, okay, I realize that I was bullied earlier in my life. That's why I'm getting angry when I turn on the news. And I'm like, and is there a sense of healing and resolution? Is that the intention as well when I'm listening to the music so that there's a body healing? And I know there's neurocircuitry being formed, but what's the body healing that's happening, or is there?
Yeah, well, if you're angry, this kind of music, it's like how you turn on a different station for different moods, and so it's like you're naturally attracted to this kind of music. So that's how it's been composed. It has the anger has a certain power and intensity to it. Then with the underlying binaural beats, which you don't consciously hear the beats, it's just in the music. So it creates this calming like sense of I'm okay in this anger. And so when we're okay in this anger, we're okay in our feelings, which are so natural to our human experience, we become empowered. And most of our, bad behavior or things that are destructive come from actually our avoidance. It's like anger comes in and we don't want to feel that feeling, so we push it off on someone else. And so that's not an actual, the empowered purpose of our anger. So what the music does is, first of all, it would be soothing. first of all, you're like, I'm angry. I want to listen. I want to match. I want something to match that intensity in me. So the anger recording, you put that on and you'd listen to it, and it would create this fierceness. Like, I am a powerful embodied goddess in this anger and this powerful feeling. And it creates space. And when we're okay in our feelings, a lot of times we'll have that revelation, we'll have that realization of like, oh, I should be angry because that's a violation of something. Now, my action step from a calm state is totally different.
Right.
So that's where, it really interacts with the addiction, because an addiction is often like a pacifier. It's like, what do I go to titrate? What do I go to escape to not have to deal with this? This is a different way. It's giving people the resources to deal with the complexity and the stresses that we have.
Right. So it's to get you resourced so that if you have a triggered response, you're acting from a calm and measured place versus, whatever triggered fight or flight place.
Yeah.
Got it.
Exactly.
And the embodied pieces, the exercises that we go to in connecting to our bodies, help us understand, because so much of that, it's motivated subconsciously. So when we start to connect to our body, like, what is that anger, like that charge? When you have that much charge in your body, what happens? And usually people go to those kind of behaviors, the things to dissipate it, to disconnect from that. So the embodied techniques help people start to build capacity of, again, that same sense of changing the wiring. So, wow, I'm okay in this energy. Oh, I'm powerful. Oh, I can choose how I want to use that power. As
Yeah, so
opposed
there's this kind of,
to,
it sounds like sort of a healing, and that like I'm basically being more resourced, and from that place I can be both in that kind of synchronized memory, but then in my body at the same time, and kind of okay, I can feel I was bullied when I was younger, which is why the news kind of makes me upset, and I can be like be in that space so that if I turn on the news again and if I have that again, it's like, oh, I remember, and maybe not feel as stressed when that happens again because I've been in this kind of calmer place.
yeah.
And this is why this program, we kind of jokingly say sometimes, it has absolutely nothing to do with tobacco. It has everything to do with it, but at the same time, it has nothing to do with it, because it's about how we gift ourselves with radical, compassionate presence. And imagine if everybody in the world spent 5 minutes a day giving themselves that gift. It would change the entire landscape of how we relate to ourselves in the world. So what excites me most about it, outside of working with Cynthia, is that this is really what, in so many ways, the medicine that the world needs right now is anger to most people is something that's oppositional. You put your dukes up and you fight and push it away. And we're saying, no, there are all kinds of things in life like that. Actually, they're with us to teach us, with us because they're supposed to be there, and sometimes as a consequence of our life, our former actions and decisions. And when we come from that perspective, that's when true sustainable change and a path towards living a happy, healthy life can actually be achieved.
Right. Got it. So we've been talking to Jeff Schmitt and Cynthia Bergh about their project, the Tobacco Freedom Project, and a little bit about the specific program that you would undertake over a 6-month period. So it's 15 minutes a day in which you have all these resources available so that you can, over that 6-month period, be able to get that. And in addition, it sounds like you have biweekly reminder emails, which are so important for accountability whenever you're making any particular change, and a monthly live support and empowerment call that connects you with program guides and the community of other people. So thank you so much for being.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.
Being here.
Thank you, CJ.
CJ.